Hello, it is December 23rd here at the Single Malt Review. Maybe it's December 23rd for you as well.
Ideally, I have these things set up to go at midnight on the dot, Pacific time. I think it's Pacific time, so that everyone can wake up in the States and their present is already under the tree waiting for them in the form of our lovely faces and our wry English wit. Every single day, whether you want it or not. For more local viewers, it's about 6 p.m, I think, so you get to come home from work and enjoy similar. Anyway, enough about the scheduling. Let's have a look at today's whiskey. And this is where I ran out of Drinks by the Dram sample bottles, and so we get a little bit more. So thank you for our community whiskey benefactors here.
We're into the final three, which I believe makes this the peri-penultimate whiskey, if I'm getting my nomenclature.
It's the first time I've even heard that spoken, but yeah, it checks
one
out.
before penultimate.
It checks
out. There we go. That is wow. That's a large bottle, so take care.
It is.
Don't want to pour half that in there, or else you'll probably die.
Oh, I don't know. I've come back from worse.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
We have a bright, clear colour.
We have a very, very clear whiskey, but
look
at those
very light lager, sort of like a.
Look at those bubbles.
Young
those
Chardonnay.
Bubbles are giving some stuff away already. They're still hanging on. Look at that. There's been an oil spill in this thing. This is, if not cask strength whiskey, then definitely unchill filtered.
Hello, Pete.
Oh, here we go. Okay, we were just talking about this. We were just, as we sit here gaming our clues, things have gotten to such a narrow point in the continuum now where, and the exact thing we were discussing was, if anything is peated, it's now either the sky or the question mark. So this is going to be a bit of a short guess, but we'll waffle on for you a bit so it's not too much of a short video, because I think there's going to be a lot to talk about. If this is off-the-shelf Talisker, then this is not off-the-shelf Talisker, which is a bad way of describing it. It definitely has all of the notes of Talisker, but this is way stronger.
That's like gag on Pete.
Way stronger.
Wow. That is potent. It's fairly mild on the nose, but on the tongue, it is high ABV, I think, and very hard-hitting peat, like little pickaxes of flint going straight in, and peat and sphagnum and whatever going straight into the tongue.
Right, I am, based on what we're working with,
it's
extremely sure this is Talisker, but it's not any normal Talisker. This is, if not cask strength, then very, very, very high. I think we're over 50 on this one.
Being part of a classic malts range, it's so hard to get Talisker, which is not just the bulk standard Talisker.
Not impossible. I have seen it, and it gets on the other, like the other edge of the sword there. On the one hand, the classic malts do get kind of locked up in their in the classic malts stable there, but it means that almost every year they get a distiller. What do they call them? Like distiller's edition, which is kind of a different spin on the normal stuff, and I found them a bit hit and miss. It normally, distiller's edition normally just means we've done a really heavy sherry influence on this, and a lot of those, especially my favourite ones, which is the Crag and Moors and the Linkwoods, I don't think they do too well after you just put heavy but finished sherry on them. I think they're a bit like, that we've lost what makes this distillery special. I don't think this is this. This is obviously not been bombed with some sort of finish. This looks like
I've slightly overwatered that. Can I have a bottle again, please? To top this up.
Well, uniquely, you can.
Yes. I went quite generous on the additional water because it's so strong.
Have we got a bit of a cloud, or have we
Let's
not?
see.
Mine isn't giving much away, but based on the oils and the froth, I really, really think we should be getting a cloud. Possibly it's just still too strong.
Now, what's the other Isle of Skye offering?
That's Tobraigue, which is a very newish distillery, and I've never tasted the whiskey. I've never set eyes on their whiskey. I'm not sure if it gets into our country. There is not a lot of it in circulation. If this is Tobraigue, then they have flat out copied Talisker in a way that I can only salute, because this is full on Talisker. It has got it's got the black pepper and it's got the chili pepper that you feel it in the throat.
It's an intense peat, but it's not the kind of grubby, oily, sooty peat you'd think.
It's clean. It's tangy. It's not sooty. It's not particularly oily. It's not meaty or fishy. It's clean and clear. If you imagine
some oil, the peat is not part of it. It's not like a.
If you imagine Isla peat as sort of like a burning end of Blackbeard's beard, then Talisker is not. Talisker is just short and sharp. It's a burning strip of magnesium. It's not anything that sticks around or gets too stuck in grubby flavours. It's quite clean as peat goes. And the whiskey underneath it, that's a real like lightning bolt of flavours I get for Talisker. There's sweetness and fruit and stuff there, but it all moves so fast and it's so elevated, it's so prickly that it's pretty good actually. It's a dynamic flavour. Okay. So I think it's Talisker. Welcome any other suggestions, but I think if you're not going Talisker, I think you're crazy. I think this is Talisker through and through. The question is, what Talisker is this? Because this is not your average. This ain't your dad's Talisker.
No, this isn't.
And it's
surely not a standard Talisker.
I don't think it's a distiller's edition either, because there's nothing has been done to this.
Yeah.
Distiller's edition normally means we'll bung it in some sort of weird wine cask and give it a year's finish and chuck it out, and people will collect it. So
it's in some way stronger or older, or
so I think this is either indie Talisker or something else. I don't think it's old Talisker. This tastes a lot like the 10 years to me, except for the extra treatment.
Very honest pale colour.
It is, yeah. So it's very similar age-wise to the 10, but it's not the 10 because we can see through it as opposed to all that colouring.
But this calendar has been so deftly curated; it's taught us to expect the unexpected. So it could be something other than standard Talisker. It could be Tobruk, just not one where.
If it's a Tobruk, then you got me. But I'm not. I cannot pick it.
Okay,
cannot pick it. It's too good for Talisker. No, can't go with the Tobruk on this one.
Fair enough.
This is if it was Tobruk, then they have assembled a clone, which is I just don't think it's what you do.
Fair enough.
Yeah, couldn't go with anything but Talisker. What Talisker? I don't know.
Unless it's one of the mysteries, in which case
it could be a question mark. In which case, let's just kill us now. Just take us out back. But no, Talisker.
Sure.
I'm going to keep saying Talisker.
Fair enough.
As I take the card out.
Manifest it into the universe or whatever.
Talisker. Excellent. Special edition 2020, 8-year-old, 57%, 57.9, Caribbean rum cask finish.
Wow, so that is one of the possibly the strongest whiskey we've had in this lineup, 57.9.
The Gherkin was almost 60. Right. It was 59 point something. But this is up there. It does not taste that strong.
Wow, and a rum cask finish. Hence, I guess explains why the colour is still quite pale. You get a little bit of gold off a rum cask, but not a whole lot.
Do you think that rum's coming through? I don't know.
I mean, now that I know it's there, my brain is trying to make all these connections and try to pretend like I know what I'm talking about.
Talk about things manifesting or not manifesting. I don't think that rum is particularly manifesting.
8 years old, so younger than the standard Talisker, which I guess explains why how the peat is manifesting. So, that's
maybe a teensy bit more sweetness than average Talisker, but I don't know.
Stronger than the average, which I think we tasted, but I didn't expect it to be quite so brutally strong. That's a stonking great ABV on that. And it's a stonking great whiskey too.
Pretty gentle, all things considered. That's why it wasn't clouding, because I would have needed to put even more water in to bring it down to that level. This is probably still up at about 48. Jason,
this is a great. I've had a few rum cask finished whiskies before and generally enjoyed them. This is the first, I think, heavily peated one I've tried, and it's really taken in a different direction.
I like. Well, can you like? Okay. Not to dog on this whiskey. This is a beautiful Talisker. I'm just wondering where the rum's coming in. Maybe a touch of elevated sweetness, but
I guess
just not really...
the sort of raisiny sweetness. I know there aren't raisins in rum, but I get a sort of raisiny rum and raisin flavour from rum cask finished whiskey, if that makes any sense. And maybe that has cut some edge off a peat, leaving that sort of cleaner peat. It's sort of refining it more than the Talisker average, the usual. And perhaps because it is younger than usual, that peat hasn't sort of simmered away in the cask for quite as long. It hasn't done whatever it does over time.
Well, you know what? That's as good a theory as any.
Yeah.
I still think rum casks are a bit of a question mark for me. I think they're either never old enough, or the cask is so beat once it gets out of the rum industry.
Usually ex-bourbon.
I don't know.
There before rum goes in them. then a good few years of having rum pass through, then
Yeah. All right. Lovely Talisker, though. And
yeah.
a pretty easy pick. Pretty easy pick. I love how casually we're just tossing the card away and just talking about it like we're doing a normal tasting now. That's, don't we look professional when we've got literally 2 to choose from. Anyway. Thank you for joining us. We will be back tomorrow. If it goes wrong now, I'm going to laugh. It's going to be so good if we actually tit one of these up. But the question mark actually is there for that exact purpose, isn't it? We're still going to have to walk the plank on one of them. Ooh, I look forward to it.